Salam and hello, dear listeners. I'm Nazifa Jalali, and you are listening to Women for Women podcast. This is a space where we amplify the voices of women who have the right to stand up, speak out, and keep moving forward despite the odds. Here you will hear stories of courage and resilience, stories of women who have worked tirelessly, faced discrimination, endured threats, imprisonment, and even torture. Women who have confronted social, cultural, and security challenges yet refuse to give up. These are stories of pain and hope, loss and strength, struggle and determination, stories that remind us that behind every challenge lies a woman who choose resistance over silence and hope over fear. Each episode brings you closer to the lives of remarkable women whose journeys inspire change, spark conversation, and remind us of the power of strength. In today's episode, we are joined by Farishta Hemmati, Executive Director of Words and a human rights advocate with extensive experience in the fields of women's rights, media, and civic engagement. Through her work, she has been actively engaged in amplifying women's voices and contributing to advocacy efforts in complex and challenging environments. Frishta, thank you so much for giving us the time and welcome, and thank you for being with us today. Before we begin our conversation, if you can have a definition of Frishta Hemmati, who is Frishta?
Thank you, Nazifa John. Hi, everyone. I hope everybody is doing well. And I'm very pleased, Nazifa John, that you have invited me to this podcast. And I personally congratulate you and your team on creating this needed podcast at the moment. So, as you have explained my identity very beautifully, I would want to add that yes, my name is Farishta Hemmati, an Afghan women rights activist and journalist, originally from Afghanistan, right now based in Canada. I'm serving and honored to be serving as the executive director for the Women Organization for Rights, Dignity, and Speech, which stands for WORDS. And Back in Afghanistan, I was working as a journalist, and my journey has started from Afghanistan when I was a sophomore student back in the country. And I have a bachelor's degree in journalism and communication from Afghanistan and a master's degree in international relations from Kazakhstan. Since 2021, unfortunately, when the second takeover of the Afghanistan happened by the Taliban, I have left the country behind. But of course, I'm still passionate about my work for the people of Afghanistan, particularly women of my country, now that I'm living in exile and working for them.
Thank you so much. Amazing, Frishta.
Thank you.
If I can start my questions, and it's something like we will have a conversation with each other like friends because both of us we have the same experiences and we worked even I know you and we know each other but for the listeners so I should ask some questions but
Sure,
please feel
absolutely.
free.
Sure.
My first question is looking back at the period following the fall of Afghanistan, how do you recall that time? What circumstances and decisions lead you to leave Afghanistan and eventually rebuild your life in Canada?
Hmm. I think it's hard to talk about still for me and for many of us, I believe. But we are here to let the people know that what was the reality back on those days, and what is the reality right now that we are living in exile, advocating for the women of Afghanistan. And thank you for this question. What I remember from those days, that everything was moving very fast, obviously, for them. they were taking over the country, and having said that, yeah, this is us now in Afghanistan, and everything wiped out within mere months. Um, so I feel like I was remembering one day that I had work, plans, future, and the next day everything collapsed. So if we just look at this, issue from a perspective of a person who has been working in Afghanistan, who has been, managing plans and imagining a future in a country that we were, craving to be serving our community and our people, it's very hard, to see everything is going to be collapsed, or everything collapsed at that moment. So I just would want to clarify that leaving Afghanistan was not a choice for me and for many of us who are currently living in exile. It was the only option we had at the time. And when I personally was watching myself and everything that I worked for, my choices, my presence, and my right to speak became illegal according to the rules and regulations overnight, I could understand that staying means disappearing for me. And I could not disappear, obviously. So when the collapse happened, I was there for about a month or two. And then I left Afghanistan to Kazakhstan to pursue my master's degree in international relations. And I have said previously, because I have been receiving a scholarship before they take over. But when the takeover happened, I still, was struggling with the visa and leaving the country. But at those time, I can remember that the embassy of Kazakhstan was still working inside Afghanistan, and I could succeed with the help of our professors from Kazakhstan to be able to receive the visa and leave the country. And after a year doing my master's degree in Kazakhstan, I left and I came to Canada as a refugee. So I'm now here, and if I give you further details about the work that we have been doing in Canada with getting together with a wonderful group of Afghan journalists, university professors, and media workers in Germany. And we have been founding a non-for-profit organization which is dedicated to Afghan journalists and human rights defenders in Germany by the name of Afghanistan Media Support Organization, which I was, working with them as the CEO from exile. I mean, I was in Canada, but working for them. But now and finally, we have been, creating organization which is dedicated to women only by the name of Women Organization for Rights, Dignity, and Speech, standing for words.
Amazing, Frishta John. Of course, I will come back and I to those questions as well, because I want to hear some more details about your amazing work and job that you did, and you're still trying your best to continue the way that you want to achieve the goals for Afghanistan, for Afghan women, and for yourself. But for me, something which is very interesting, and it will be, I think, interesting for the listeners as well. What do you remember about Afghanistan, and what is it that still gives you hope to keep going?
Thank you, Nazifa John. From Afghanistan, I can remember the day that I was going out, freely. I still had hope that, okay, Freshta, this is your, the choices that you have made before, working somewhere, being there for your people, still educating, still having hope to, create and build something inside Afghanistan, and serving the community that you really care about. Um, but when the Taliban took over the country, I feel like most of us lost hope at those moments, to be honest. I was one of those. When the Taliban came, I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen to us? Because I was hearing the stories when the first time Taliban came to the country and what was happening to the women and girls, particularly at those days. But what I can remember from the days that I was working freely was having a hope, obviously working for a women. At those time, I was working as a communication officer for a World Bank project, which was working for self-sufficiency of women. And I was, traveling to provinces and interviewing people, as we have now, Nazifa John, the interview. I was interviewing the women who were, building small businesses for themselves. And I was, talking to them, enjoying my work and seeing that, okay, we are going to have a capital of Afghanistan and seeing women that they are, happily growing. But from the days that the Taliban came, as I told you, the very darkest moments that I have ever had in my entire life, everything dark, and you have no voice. Although I was, contacted by so many of the media organization that, okay, Farishta, if you can, share your experiences with us, what is happening inside Afghanistan. I was about to document my life inside Afghanistan and outside. But those darkest days, and of course the emotional path that I was going through was really impacting my life and my emotional behaviors to just at some point not giving up, but to stop documenting what was happening to me in the country. But yeah, and I believe that this was happening to so many of our women in the country those
Yeah,
times.
thank you so much, Freshta John, for sharing this with us. And it's really amazing job and amazing goals that you have, and still you're trying with all the difficulty and all the experience that you did and you experienced in Afghanistan, and when you left Afghanistan. But Frishta, before migration, you were actively engaged in media and social work. How
Yeah.
has migration shaped your personal and professional identity, and what changes has it brought to your goals and priorities?
Mm. Um, so about migration, I feel like, as I told you before, migration for me, myself personally, and for many of us, I can't speak on behalf of everyone who left Afghanistan after 2021, but for most of us, I feel like that was the only option that we had, right? That
Yeah.
this means that if we had the choice, we may not be, going through that path, the migration path, I mean. But for us, that we are living in exile, and that was the only option that we could have at the moment, was that migration breaks you silently,
Mm,
because you are seeing yourself like, okay, I'm now right in the middle of something that I did not plan for, and what you're going to do. That's the first question that pops up in your mind, saying that, okay, what you're going to do and what's next.
mm,
So I feel like for us, at the very first days, we may lose, we will be homesick. I was homesick for many months. We lose the context that once defined ourselves, right? The language, the colleagues, the community, and the future that we have to rebuild, again from the scratch.
yeah.
So for me, the hardest part was not the practical things, I would say, in Canada. It was the question of whether what I did back in Afghanistan still mattered here or not. For me, as a journalist, for example, because my women's rights activism came after. So for me, those days, journalism was something that I really care about. And I was thinking, like, okay, Freshta, does it really matter now here that you're in Canada or not? And over time, I realized that it really mattered, because the freedom to say what women inside Afghanistan could not say was keeping me moving, right? I
Mm,
was a person freely living in a country, which we name it exile. And from here, we can be the voice of those women who are stifled back in Afghanistan, was, giving me that resilience, saying that, okay, Freshta, journalism really mattered now. Even it matters the most right now
mm,
that you do your work. And that changed everything about how I see my work and how I was seeing my work on those days when I immigrated to Canada. So that was the reason that we had started from the
mm.
scratch again.
Exactly. But how have your experiences in Afghanistan shaped the way you see your role today as a human rights advocate in exile?
Mhm.
You are living in Canada, you are living in a new society, in a new a country with a
Right.
new culture and even language. So, yeah,
Right.
over to you.
That's such a good question, Nazifa John, because I am one of those who have been advocating for the women of Afghanistan, not only those who are inside the country, but those who are, living outside and trying to be the voice. What I personally see Afghan women or the entire Afghan community outside Afghanistan diaspora to be able to speak for themselves first and to be able to speak for the people that they are working for inside Afghanistan. I believe and I appreciate those who are working as foreigners for the people of Afghanistan, but I feel like the platforms has to be given to the people of Afghanistan themselves. One thing in the international conferences and in the gatherings, for example, in demonstrations or anywhere, like in the parliaments, or in the organization that they have upper hand to bring a change in the Afghanistan, I feel like the people of Afghanistan has to be given the platform to be able to speak on behalf of them. For example, me as an Afghan woman, going through all those experiences, as you said, like my experience as an Afghan woman inside Afghanistan, seeing all those darkest days, particularly when I was, living under the Taliban for a couple of months, seeing the reality. So, of course, I would stand for my rights that a platform has to be given to myself to be able to speak on behalf of Afghan women, right?
Mm,
I appreciate, as I say, the foreigners talking, about Afghans and saying like this is happening, that is happening, and of course the media that we can see that sometimes it's going to be, shipped to the way that they are really built for or the reasons behind building those medias. But I feel like the Afghan um, community has to be given those platforms talking on behalf of themselves everywhere that a decision is made for Afghans, Afghans has to be there. They have to be there to be able to speak. So yes, as you can see, myself talking about the Afghans and sharing my experience, giving recommendations or giving ideas, bringing thoughts to the table, I'm more confident because those days of my life living under the Taliban and also working as an Afghan girl, even before the Taliban, giving me that confidence of talking freely about what is happening in Afghanistan and what I became passionate to be able to work for the people of my country.
mm. Thank you so much, Prista John, for sharing these important points with me. And what part of your work feels most meaningful to you when you think about the people you have supported or worked with? Because I know you are still working inside Afghanistan as well. I know you are in
Mhm.
Canada, but remotely or online, you are in contact with your colleagues and the people, and especially the women and girls that they are in contact with you. So that's
Mhm.
why what part of your work feels the most meaningful to you?
Working for the women of my country, 100%. this is something that I am really passionate about, because you know, on daily basis, we are working with the women in Afghanistan, and we are in daily contacts with them. So just imagine, you know, yourself, even Nazifa John, you know, waking up as a human rights defender or a journalist that is working for the women of Afghanistan in particular. I'm saying in particular women of Afghanistan, because we are broadly covering the whole Afghanistan, right? Doesn't matter being a man or women or anyone else, but women in particular, because they are, you know, the systematic erasure of women from public life in Afghanistan is happening right now. So you are mostly passionate about women. So seeing that I am working for women, and if at the end of the day, those working and those hard works and those efforts bringing even a little change in their life will really satisfy me as a person who is living in exile, saying like, okay, physically, I am far away from a country named Afghanistan. But if I can do something from here, you know, thousands miles away from the country, that gives me that satisfaction. And yeah, working for women is really something that keeps me going, you know, moving me forward. And I feel like what really concerns me at the same time, Nazifa John, is that me seeing that the world is getting used to it, like, you know, the chaos that is happening in the country, everybody witnessing the entire world, because Afghans in diaspora or Afghans in exile, we all collectively tried our best to to raise awareness about the reality that is happening inside the country, right? But again, we are seeing that the world closed their eyes to this reality. And that is really concerning for me as a women's rights activist and journalist, that the world, that seeing world is getting used to this, you know, and the outrage is fading. And not seeing Afghanistan on the news cycle anymore, really, you know, ringing the bells for me and for many of us living in exile.
Thank you, Frishta John. And for me, all your works, and I'm so proud of you and all the girls that they are struggling, they're fighting for their rights, and not only for their rights, but for the rights of thousands of women that they are living still in inside Afghanistan under restrictions and under a lots of other very danger and risky situation. Freshta John, in your journey so far, what has been one of the most difficult decisions you had to make, and what did it teach to you? I know because a few moments before you shared your story when you
Mm.
left Afghanistan, maybe it was the most difficult
Mm.
decision. But
Right.
about your journey from the childhood until now, what else?
Thank you, Nazifa John. That question really, you know, give me a deep thought of, you know, life, to see what was really challenging for myself as a woman growing up in Afghanistan. I feel like so as you say that, okay, leaving Afghanistan behind was hard for most of us. Rather than that, what are, you know, the most challenging thing in my life happening? Um, I feel like migration all the time will be very heartbreaking to Afghans, those who have, you know, the experience of leaving Afghanistan behind, and the country that you really care about. Because, you know, immigrating, Nazifa John, for me is not the first time. After 2021, when I was a child, I also had the experience of, you know, immigration and living somewhere else that you are not really feeling belongs to. Now I'm very blessed that we are seeing, nations that they really care about the people who are experiencing repression and war. But when the first time Afghanistan was ruled by the Taliban, unfortunately, was also the very darkest moments for everyone who has experienced the, immigration. So I feel like the entire life was very challenging to all of us as Afghan. But for myself personally, I would say raising up in a country where women really can't see themselves and can't really define themselves as women is very challenging and hard. I would put immigration first and then being and raising and growing as a woman in the country second.
Mhm. At the end, Frishta John, if you can tell us about your current plannings, what do you have now in your table for you, for the girls that you're working with, especially the women that they are inside Afghanistan? What's next, and what's your planning for the future for them?
I only would have one sentence to be able to define the goals. We won't be silenced until the Taliban um, will be collapsed.
Mm,
And I feel like no regime would silence us because now I can see a you know a very big population of Afghan women and also the people of Afghanistan being very capable and being very strategically advocating for the people of Afghanistan, comparing to the very first days, the very first round of the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. So I feel like what I can see is a community capable and those who really care about Afghanistan. And I would really call on those who don't pay attention, who are seeing Afghanistan as a country that they left behind and they are not really belongs to anymore. I feel like those also have to come and put their thoughts on the table, joining Afghans who really care, joining Afghans who um, having any platform but advocating for the people of Afghanistan, because this is a collective mission, I believe, working for the people of Afghanistan. And I feel like we should be able to look to other nations who have been in the same situation as Afghans, who have been, going through all these difficulties, but could have, bring a positive change in the society or changing the regimes or um, collapsing the things that is not the truth, you know. And
mm,
this is the time for us to get experience and get together and work for the people of our country. And for myself, the goals and the responsibility that I am carrying would be working for the women of Afghanistan and um, words. Creating words is one of the things that we really my team and I are working actively on that to be able to cover the stories and the human rights violation that is happening in Afghanistan for journalists and women's rights activists, and in a broader context for the women of Afghanistan, and with programs and with the women on the ground. Of course, like as working in exile here won't work. I believe that the women from the Afghanistan should be involved as well, and they are. And I think that we built words from nothing, as I can see, right, in exile with very limited resources and unlimited positions at least. And it's not only worth struggling in these countries, it's so many other organizations that I can see that they are being built in exile, and they are struggling with the resources. But we are committed at the end of the day, right? Working for the women and for the people of Afghanistan. And I think that is really something that we are proud of right now. And yeah, we will continue our work for the people of Afghanistan.
Amazing, Farishta John. Thank you so much. Your words have been deeply moving. I sincerely hope that one day your efforts will be rewarded and the voices of women will be heard and recognized.
I hope so.
Farishta, just I want to hear your message. What message would you like to share with our listeners?
Um, yeah, it's very interesting, Nazifa John, that in any interviews when they are, asking about my message to the people of Afghanistan or to the people who are listening to our podcast, I would really think that what is really a message that I can convey and would be seriously taken, because of course there are plenty of messages, right? There are so many thoughts that we can share, like, okay, you this and do that. For example, let's do this and that. But I feel like something that should be really taken seriously at the moment by the people of Afghanistan, and particularly Afghan women, would be not to wait for permission. We are seeing a country and a group of barbaric people who are ruling the country, restricting, right? Every single day they are, creating something new for the people. If you don't do the X, the next day they are coming and saying to you that do not do the Y as well. So I feel like we shouldn't be waiting for the permission. And the whole world, not only the Taliban, I feel like the whole world will say, like, oh, you have to be patient, be realistic, lower your expectations, and this and that. I feel like no, we are not meant to be those people. The Afghan women, because we are very resilient, That's one of the things that I am very proud of in any gatherings they are talking about is Afghan women being resilient. So we have to take that one and saying that we do not wait for permissions. We shouldn't be silent. We shouldn't be lowering our expectations, right? And we have to be realistically, taking a path which is like very strategically giving us the, the platform and also the result that we were, waiting for. So I feel like we have to build something anyway. We have to speak anyway, and we have to make, choices anyway, because the voice that we have right now as a people, if I will be talking for the people who are outside, the voice that we have been given is not a privilege, it is a right. So why not using that right for the people of our country, right? And I feel like no regime, no border, no barrier, um, or no group even can take that from us, right? So we have to be able to speak on behalf of those who are stifled in the country, the women and the people, and those who are inside Afghanistan, they shouldn't wait for permission. If the Taliban are going to put restrictions, do it another way. For example, building schools like online schools in Afghanistan is something that shows to the people that Afghan women are not waiting for permissions. If you are restricting them from going to school physically, they are taking another path to be educated for the generation that is coming next, for the next generation that they are going to, nourish, that the generation that they are going to, narrate all these stories that is happening in Afghanistan. So for those inside Afghanistan, not wait for permissions. For those who are outside Afghanistan, please and please speak on behalf of your country and do not, do not be silenced, because I feel like history has never belonged to those who silence people. It belongs to those who refused to be silenced, and those are us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prista John, for sharing your time, your experiences, and your insights with us today. And to our dear listeners, thank you for your staying with us and being part of this conversation. We invite you to stay connected and look forward to our upcoming episodes where more powerful stories and voices will be shared, and our sisters, women and girls who wish to share their own stories or the stories of their friends and colleagues through our podcast can get in touch with us via the Women for Women podcast website. Until next time, take care and stay strong.